Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another edition of the Opposition Preview. First things first, guys, make sure you're smashing the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, all of that good stuff. And as always, leave your thoughts in the comments below. And on Sunday, Chelsea heads to Goodison Park with the chance to momentarily go top of the league. Didn't think I'd ever be saying those words so soon again, but here we are. With Liverpool kicking off a little bit later on, a win would see us go top of the league for at least a few hours. Goodison Park, not a happy hunting ground, so it is going to be a tough afternoon. But I'd like to be joined by Everton fan Judgy from Across the Park podcast to talk all things Everton and what we can expect from the game. Mate, welcome to the channel. Thank you for coming on. Before we get into Everton, the big news before this game is that the takeover of the Freaking Group has now finally gone through. I'm not sure if that will change fortunes on the pitch immediately, but just in terms of for Everton fans themselves and the feeling around the club, how much of a boost is this? Because it has been quite difficult with the ownership in recent times.
Oh yeah, no, and thanks for having us on first, Charlie. Yeah, it's a huge boost. No two ways about it. It's been a very difficult 18 months to 24 months almost. The PSR deductions and the points deductions have been a nightmare, and it feels like it's been a cloud hanging over us. We've been struggling for finances to finish the stadium. There's no secret that we've struggled to go back into the market for the same reasons that I've just mentioned. Then a lot of negativity surrounds the players and the lack of depth in the squads that we've got on the pitch, the manager. So yeah, and it just felt like there was just no way out for us really. It could have been a lot worse. We were, if you believe that, the rumours, we were days away from going under and going into administration. So it could have been a lot worse, but definitely it's a huge relief to not only find owners, but to get owners who have actually got a little bit of money themselves and are not being propped up by various other institutions, which we were almost in bed with the 777 situation. So yeah, it's a relief for the fan base. Hopefully we can now kick on. I think you're right. I don't expect there to be any knee-jerk reactions from the new owners, but who knows? We've got January just around the corner, which is always a little bit of an interesting window. And I think that the results and the performances over this Christmas period will probably dictate whether the new owners are going to pull the trigger early on a new manager or a new structure around the management, or whether they're going to see the season out.
No, of course. Mate, talk to me about Everton this season, because obviously you guys aren't in the best position. You're 16th in the table right now, 3 points above the drop zone, but just 3 wins all season, which doesn't make particularly great reading. You got a decent point against Arsenal last time out of the Emirates, which perhaps would have been unexpected. What's kind of the feeling around Everton this season in terms of performances on the pitch? Because there doesn't seem to me like Dyche is getting much out of this group.
No, and look, history and statistics will tell you that Dyche generally doesn't get a lot out of any of his teams in the first periods of the season. There's a stat, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, that Sean Dyche has never won a game in August, which is just incredible. So you never, you're always up against it if you always lose your first 2 or 3 games or you don't win any of them. I think we were certainly hampered by the injury to Jarrad Branthwaite coming into the season. We were without him for a long period, which, if you're going to defend Dyche somewhat, that would affect any team. I think in the bottom half of the pitch to be missing a player of Jarrad Branthwaite's calibre, and we struggled to keep clean sheets early in the season. And again, you don't need to be a genius or an expert in football to know that Sean Dyche's team have never been blessed with goals, and they don't. And they rely on set plays, they rely on a solid base, and we were lacking that solid base without Jarrad Branthwaite. So a bit of defence for him there, that we struggled to score goals anyway, and we were struggling for clean sheets. Since he's come back, I think it's 12 games. We've been beaten twice in the last 12 games. So although we're not picking up as many victories as we would like to, we've been certainly a lot more consistent in the last 12 in terms of keeping the opposition out. I think we've only conceded 2 more goals than yourselves. So the tide has turned somewhat defensively, but touching on the style of play, there's no two ways about it. It's dreadful. It's tough to watch. It's awfully boring. And look, we're not unrealistic as Evertonians. We're not expecting us to, certainly turn up on Sunday against you guys and go toe-to-toe. We're not expecting to go to Arsenal and score 2 or 3 goals. But we're expecting to, to at least at least try and take it to the opposition when there's that vulnerability and there's that moment there, and there's just that reluctance to do so on so many occasions, and I think it's took its toll now. I think we got to the point as fans where we're like, come on, there is a bit more talent in that squad than he's allowing to allowing us to see.
I mean, I've just having a look at the table. You've scored 14 goals this season. Only Southampton with 11 have scored less. There are some decent attacking players in the squad. I mean, look at someone like Dwight McNeil. I mean, Calvert-Lewin has scored goals in the past. I mean, Iliman Ndiaye is looks like a bit of a handful. Why do you think you struggled to score goals this season? Is it a lack of quality? Is it the way that Dyche sets the team up, or kind of a combination of both?
Yeah, it is probably a combination of both. I think, although we have got players who are capable of goals, Dominic Calvert-Lewin for the last 2-3 seasons, I don't think has hit up double figures. Dwight McNeil's has a fairly decent season, to be fair, and even though I think he's only got 3 goals, I think he's got 5 or 6 assists, he's been a little bit better. Jack Harrison's flattered to deceive, he's been in and out of the side. Decore is typically chipped in with 7, 8, 9 goals. He's struggled for goals this season, but I think generally we just don't get players high enough off the pitch, and they're not supporting each other in the pitch. They're generally isolated. So if the ball goes up to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he's expected to hold the ball up. He's expected to win free kicks. The quality of delivery from free kicks and set plays has not been as good this season as it has been in previous seasons. Iliman Ndiaye has been a breath of fresh air, but he's not hit the heights in terms of the goal return that you would expect given the performances he's put in. So, yeah, a variety of reasons, but I think generally it's a lack of ambition from the manager in terms of getting bodies into the box when we do get the ball in the final thirds. And I guess that reluctance and that worry that we're going to get caught on the break. He's very much a manager who's trying to keep a clean sheet first and foremost, and hopefully we try and nip a goal. And I think you can see that from the underlying data.
I mean, you touched on the summer. There wasn't a great deal of investment and whatnot. How big a miss is Amadou Onana? I know Dyche didn't really seem to like him and didn't play him that much, which couldn't really understand myself personally. You got 50 million quid for him. Has he been a big miss this season? It might seem like a silly question, but I mean, do you guys miss him?
It's a funny one because Onana is certainly a talent. He's without doubt been more effective for Aston Villa already than he ever was for us. Now, whether that's because of the manager not getting the most out of him, or whether it was because the quality of the players around him, who knows? I mean, it was a strange one when we let him go and we got 50 million. You kind of looked at his fans and thought, fair enough. Like, he wants to go on and play for a better side. We're not making the most out of him. 50 million is probably a fair price. I mean, you look at it, without doubt, we miss his energy in there. We miss his presence. He's such a big lad. He wins everything in the air, and also he covers a lot of ground, on the pitch. And you see it with the likes of Lavia and Caicedo. It makes such a difference if you've got players. You can get up and down. You can, concede those clever fouls, break up the play. And the other players that have kind of come in his place at the start of the season, it was Guy and it was Decore who were trying to hold the midfield, and they're both getting on, those two. They're not quite the athletes that they were. You've had James Garner in there who's been dogged by injury, who technically is a decent player, but again, doesn't really cover ground that Onana did. Mangala in recent weeks has come in and made a huge difference. Oriol Mangala, he was on on loan. He's a player. He's owned by Lyon. He's came in and made a massive difference in the last few weeks in terms of just giving us a bit more nous and energy in there, and him and Guy have formed a bit more of a partnership. But I think until Mangala come into the team, we've generally struggled to cover the space that Onana left.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, another player you spent reasonable money on from an Everton perspective is O'Brien. I think you spent about 15 million quid on him as centre-back. Maybe you needed him anyway, but perhaps thinking that Branthwaite might move on. Why hasn't O'Brien featured very much this season? Is that something that's surprised Everton fans? Is that something Everton fans, they want to see this guy feature?
Yeah, it's been a surprise. It was a particular surprise given that Branthwaite was out for so long that we didn't see as much of him. But I mean, and this is just as much a criticism again of the manager. He's just so insistent on giving Michael Keane minutes whenever he has the chance. Obviously, he's managed Michael Keane at Burnley. As soon as he came in as manager, Michael Keane come into the team. whenever he's got the chance to play Michael Keane, he's taken that chance. So I think it's a combination of the fact that, you know, O'Neill's come from O'Brien, sorry, he's come from another league. He's a young lad. He's definitely a little bit rough around the edges, and he certainly prefers Michael Keane's experience and supposed know-how. But Michael Keane will probably be one of the legacies of Sean Dyche in terms of the amount of times he's come into the team and let the team down, simultaneously let Dyche down. He's poor. He's nowhere near the level. And I think generally the perception amongst the fans is we'd rather have seen Jake O'Brien come in, make a few mistakes, know that he's going to get better, know that we'll have a player that we're probably going to see for the next few years get some more minutes and experience, than see another player that we know is not good enough get more minutes and let us down continuously. So, yeah, I don't think the Evertonians are under any illusions that Jake O'Brien is not the end product. He's certainly far from that. And the price tag definitely raised some eyebrows amongst our fans, let alone everyone else. And it was a curious one because there were areas of the pitch that we could or should have strengthened rather than getting another centre-back in. But yeah, I guess another blotch on Sean Dyche's CV, and a curious one because we don't really know how good he is or equally how much of a liability he can be, because we've just not seen enough of him.
I mean, throwing it forward to this weekend, I mean, you guys desperate for points, desperate for wins. You've got a pretty good record against us at Goodison Park. It's not been a happy hunting ground for Chelsea in recent years. I know we won a couple of seasons ago on the opening day under Thomas Tuchel 1-0. But before that, you know, going back to, I think, when we last won the league under Antonio Conte for our last win at Goodison Park, you beat us 2-0 there last season. You got a good record, as I said. Does that fill you with some hope ahead of this weekend, or is that maybe clutching at straws a little bit?
A little bit of both. I think it's a strange mood amongst Evertonians, as we said at the start of the show. I think the new owners coming in will definitely raise the mood a little bit in the stadium. There's a lot of friction between the manager and the fans at the moment. He seems to be taking every opportunity he can to dig the fans out. For, you know, maybe making Goodison a bit tense, but it's a result, as you know what it's like when you what you're seeing on the pitch is nowhere near what the level of the players are capable of, and the style of football is indifferent. It's been difficult for the fans to buy into that and to get behind the manager. And when you don't get behind the manager, generally that spills into not getting behind the team. So I think coming into this weekend, it'll be interesting. Listen, the Everton fans always give the players a chance. You'll always get the first 20 minutes where we're behind them. But as the media are quick to point out to us, we're very quick to get on the players' back if it doesn't go that way. So I think the first 10, 15, 20 minutes will be a huge factor at the weekend. If we get amongst you, if we look like we're making your back line uncomfortable, if we get opportunities, then it could be a difficult afternoon for yourselves and a fruitful one for us. But equally, if you get us on the back foot early, if you get early chances, even worse, if you get an early goal, it could become a long afternoon. So I know it's cliche, but I think that the first goal and certainly the first interactions in the game will be a huge factor as to whether it's going to go one way or the other.
I mean, do you have any concerns? You may be a bit worried that given the amount of goals we're scoring, the threats that we've got, the fact that you guys don't score many goals, but you don't let that many in either. As you said, they only shipped 2 less than us this season. I mean, do you worry that, if we're on it, it could be a bit one-sided, could be a 3-4-5? I mean, I'm not saying it will be, but there's the potential possibly for that.
Yeah, I think there is. And listen, I would be shocked and horrified if you put 4 or 5 past us at Goodison, but I think the team you've got is capable of that. I think the team we've got are capable of folding, as they did at Man United a few weeks ago against the team that didn't, they're hardly hardly the final product under Amarin, and they were definitely could have been got at, but we were toothless, and United, beat us in second gear. So if they can score 4 against us at Old Trafford, there's no two ways about it. You can comfortably score 4 or 5 against us at Goodison. So yeah, we're definitely fearful. I think what I think Dyche and the squad will be relatively content with is they know that we can sit back and be comfortable sitting in that shape. We're going to, I think, majority of the time, we're going to have 9, 10 men behind the ball, and Calvert-Lewin will be up there in his own, maybe with Takori or maybe with Ilman and Zai. And generally, they're quite happy in that shape, as they were at Arsenal last week. they didn't really cause as many problems. Arsenal, I think you've got more variety to your attack and play than Arsenal have. They rely quite heavily on the set plays, and they were never going to get that much success out of us from a set play perspective. So it's going to be interesting. And again, I really believe strongly that if you get that early goal, it could easily be a 3-4-5. But if we can hold out for 60 minutes, then it becomes interesting then.
No, absolutely. I mean, you touched on, obviously sitting deep against Arsenal, defended well. Do you expect that to be the same approach adopted for this game? Obviously, you are at home, so maybe you'd expect Everton to come out a little bit more. But from a Chelsea sort of perspective, how can we expect Everton to approach this game?
I think the first 5 or 10 minutes, we do tend to try and get the opposition on the back foot and try and put the ball in behind. It is obviously the Sean Dyche way, but we do generally tend to come out quite strong at Goodison. And I think that's, a little bit of the Everton DNA. And maybe it's not always the plan from Sean Dyche, but the fans demand it. So I would like to think that we can get a good start. It's not going to be a good start where we obviously own the ball for 60-70% of the time, but it will be about trying to get the ball into the channels, win free kicks, win corners, try and win those early battles. But make no mistake about it, I think once the game settles into a rhythm, it will be you guys having the ball, us waiting for our moment to nick the ball, and trying to get the ball forward early. And it's going to be a game of percentages for us, where it'll be about whether you can unpick those locks, which again, you've got more than enough players that can get in between the lines, and certainly players that can get in behind, although those spaces in behind are going to be fairly tight. So I think for you guys, for Chelsea, I think it's an interesting challenge. I'm not saying that you've not come up against a lot of teams that have sat back. I'm not sure it would have been the case last week against Brentford. Brentford, play with a little bit more ambition under Thomas Frank than we do. But I'm not entirely sure how you've played against that low block. And again, I'm fairly certain that most teams would try to deploy it. But again, it's not going to be as open as it was, or it was against the likes of Southampton. We're certainly going to make those gaps in between the lines really tight. And I think, I think the likes of Cole Palmer will enjoy it, because he's going to get a lot of the ball. He's going to get, opportunities to shoot from outside the area, which, he's capable of. There's probably going to be free kicks littered around the box as well, because we're not afraid to concede free kicks, because we're comfortable defending them. So I think it'll be an interesting challenge for your lot and for some players. And he may have to rely on players coming off the bench to maybe try and change things as well, which you've got in abundance.
Yeah, no, I think, it sounds like the onus is maybe going to be a lot more on us to try and break you guys down. We've not really come up against too many teams that have sat deep this season, but against the odd side that we have, we've shown that we can now create the opportunities and, and break those teams down. It just depends what shooting boots we've got on, but we do generally tend to score quite a few goals. So I think this could be a really interesting matchup. And as you rightly say, I think it's going to be an interesting test for Chelsea as well at a ground we don't have a good record at, against a team that's going to sit deep and make it difficult for us. Fans are going to be up for it. You just never know what you're going to what to expect in football. You would expect a Chelsea win, but that's not how football's played. That's not how the Premier League's going this season. Any team has shown they're capable of beating any team on any given day. So I think we're set for a really interesting encounter. Last thing, mate, score prediction. Obviously, I know it's difficult to go against your own team, but do you fancy Everton to continue the good record at Goodison Park against us? Do you think you can get something? I mean, I presume you take a point.
Oh yeah, I'll take a point now. Yeah, let's just go home. I'll take a point. I think, and you asked the question before, is it going to be the same as Arsenal in terms of the same blueprints? I do think so, but I do think we've got goals in us, and I don't think Sean Dyche, whether he likes it or not, will get away with not allowing not being a bit more ambitious at Goodison. I do think we'll get a goal, if not two. But equally, I think you guys will break through as well. I'm going to go with a 2-2. We've had, surprisingly, under Dyche, we've had quite a lot of 2-2s over the last few seasons. Not as many this season. But yeah, I think there's a strong potential for goals, in that we can be, very dangerous off set plays. I think Sanchez can be something of Achilles heel for yourselves. And I think we'll really play on that and try and make it uncomfortable for him. But equally, I think you've got too much ammo, both on the pitch and on the bench, to not break through. So I'm going to go for 2-2.
I'm going to go for a narrow 2-1 win. I think we've got enough about us to get the job done, but I think you're going to make it tough for us and it's going to be difficult. But I'm going to back us for a 2-1 win and to make it 6 league wins in a row. But mate, thank you so much for jumping on. Great to get insight about Everton. Let people know where to find you and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so it's Across the Park PC across social media and Across the Park podcast on YouTube. So we have our weekly show, which is generally an Everton-centered show. We do the opposition preview like yourselves. We regularly have ex-players, etc. on. But yeah, it's generally Everton content. The reason, just interestingly for anyone who's never come across us, the reason the podcast is called Across the Park is originally it was an Everton and Liverpool fan channel. So it was kind of, Reds and Blues across the park coming together regularly. But thankfully, we managed to shift the Reds on and it's just an Everton podcast now.
Great stuff, guys. Channel will be tagged in the title. Make sure you subscribe, show the guys some love. I jumped on to give my thoughts on Chelsea, so make sure you go over and check that out as well. Make sure you smash the like, subscribe to the channel, guys, and I'll catch you again in another one soon.